Hello one and all, my name is Sean Splains and this is Civilization 7, and today I'm going to try to attempt a challenge to get as much combat strength in every age as possible. And when looking at this, there was a few options for leaders and civilizations, but I just wanted to talk through some deliberations before we actually go on to the leader and civ which I chose. Firstly, we have Alexander, who in my opinion is the second place option for this, in terms of the early game at least, because as we can see he gets +2 combat strength automatically on land units, and he gets +1 for unique military units for every city with a wonder other than your capital, which caps at 6. So that means overall you can get +8 combat strength if we utilise his main abilities. Secondly, I would look at Napoleon Emperor, who does have some good bonuses when it comes to, obviously we get the culture and gold for the sanctions, you get extra influence towards sanctions making them easier, and we unlock all of them. However, you can only achieve +6 combat strength for land units, and while this isn't restricted to unique land units only, it's still only +6, so it actually makes him less powerful for this sort of build. But the main leader that we're actually going to be using today is going to be Tecumseh. We can get +1 combat strength on all infantry and range units for every city-state that we're suzerain of, and throughout all of the ages we will be able to achieve around +10 to +15 from this combat strength bonus, making it far stronger than Napoleon, far stronger than Alexander. Now if we go into civilizations, well, there is a few different options to go for. The only one worth really considering at the moment is Greece, and the reason for that, if we go all the way through here, is our bonus strategoi at the top. +1 combat strength for infantry units for each city-state that you are suzerain of, giving you a +1 combat strength. Again, this would double. Instead of looking at the +10 to 15 combat strength, we'd be looking at +20 to +30 combat strength, assuming we got that many city-states. And then there's another element actually within the game where we can amplify that even further. And I'll talk about that in the next bit where we're in the game and I actually talk through it a little bit. So we have the 4 military aids at the bottom, 1's from me and 3 from the AI, and thankfully they were all supported. So we have +2 from route, which we discussed before is from the assault tree, +5 from order, which is one of our commendations, +5 from first strike, which is at the bottom of our assault tree, +3 from bronze working, which is the mastery for bronze working, and then +6 from iron, so I managed to get the 6 iron again. So we're getting +12 from each of these units and the semicircle around me, plus also the chariot right in front of us is actually giving us a +2 boost. And then another interesting discovery that I made is we can see it says +47 from city-states. So if I actually go and look at the city-states who I have befriended, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and if we add up the 14 like we were doing earlier, we're doing ×3 basically, that makes up 42, and then we count the military city-states because we get an extra +1 from the military city-states. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now you're thinking that should be 48, not 47. But what I discovered was, if we go over to the left here and have a look at where Sunaraxi is, if we go over the top of it, it says Emporium as the bonus. This was a respawned city-state. Whenever you take city-states out of the game, they do respawn after like 100 turns, and when you suzerain them, they don't actually give you a bonus. The bonus is based off of a bonus that's already been taken on the map, and therefore, even though this says it's a military city-state, it doesn't count as one. I don't know whether this is intended or whether this is a bug of some kind, but it is something that I've noticed, that it now does not count as a military city-state. For whatever reason, it's appearing as an economic in terms of the bonus that it is providing me, and in terms of the actual combat strength, because if it was a military, that number would be 48 and not 47. And now going back, now that we've discussed all of those bonuses, my hoplites aren't that strong. The reason I've not even researched ironworking and the reason they're not tier 3 is I know that the +5 would not even come close to the 119 that we're getting here, which is an absolutely absurd number. And like I mentioned, it is possible to get it higher, but it would involve getting more military aid. So the absolute maximum you would be able to get from this is if you had everybody friendly in the game and you were attacking an independent, probably in the independent crisis, but that's a very dream scenario, because actually getting everybody to like you in a game when they're at war with each other and they're hating each other, so you have to avoid alliances, is incredibly hard. Today we've managed to achieve 119, and I think that in itself is absolutely crazy. I've never seen anybody get anywhere near it, especially in Antiquity. And now we're going to push through the rest of the age. I will show my choices as to what I'm doing for the next age and why, because we're not playing as Greece. We're going to be playing as somebody else, and I believe I should either be able to keep that number as consistently high, or I should be able to get it even higher than what it already is for exploration and for modern, and we're going to showcase that as we go through it. So here we are in the middle of it, well, near the end of exploration, and we have our gold bangles at tier 3, and we are in position to do 140 damage. 140 damage. I don't know about anybody else, I haven't seen anything close to this in exploration. I've seen a slightly higher number in modern before, but this is insane. I know that we already pushed the limit. In Antiquity we had basically double the combat strength of what most people have pushed out. 140 in exploration is absolutely ludicrous, I feel. Just to explain everything, 45 basic melee strength. We have more bonus from our city-states than we do in our basic melee strength in 48, which just comes from suzeraining 14 city-states, and then 6 of those are military, so we get another +6 on top of that. We get 6 from iron because we managed to find 6 iron. Feudal monarchy celebration, thankfully that's one of the bonuses for the celebration. Heraldry, if you go to your tech tree, you look at Heraldry 2, you get +3 to all infantry. First strike, same as before. Order, same as before. Route, same as before. The +5 for fighting on resources comes from the Gold Bangle Infantry's main bonus. And as much as I wanted to do the Songhai bonus of Isa, of attacking from a navigable river onto a resource, which I could have done over here, I did try, but these units just wouldn't move. So I physically couldn't get them to stand on the tile. I couldn't bait them. For some reason they wouldn't move. Otherwise we would have an extra 3 on here, but we're just going to settle with 140. I think that's enough. Gives people an opportunity to try and do better perhaps. Carrying on with the numbers, de jure is another bonus that we get from one of our policies. If we look here, we get de jure +3 combat strength for all units in homelands, which you get in your civic tree near the end as part of sovereignty part 2. So one of them is de jure, giving you +3 combat strength for all units in homelands, and you also get de facto for +3 combat strength for all units in distant lands if you were to try and do this in the distant lands, which if you're playing as Spain you could stack with their bonus and you could potentially get a higher number. But because I was playing on Pangaea, the distant land options weren't very good at all. But if I was to revisit this in the future, I would probably do that and see if I could get the number even higher. And lastly, we've got our military aids, which I managed to get 5, one of which is mine. I found that it's actually really hard to get certain people to give you military aid, so again, going into future attempts at this, I would look into different leaders. The ones who were consistently giving me military aid throughout this age were Gilgamesh, Genghis, Tubman. Weirdly, Friedrich Baroque this age, even though he was mostly unhappy with me and he was like -3s, we see he's got a lot of minuses against me, he was giving me military aid quite a lot. I never get military aid once from this Friedrich. I never get military aid once from Charlemagne. I do get offered it occasionally by Ashoka, but I didn't for this instance. Never got offered it once by Amina, and never got offered it once by Alexander. So it's important to note that maybe some leaders are more inclined to offer you it than others. But yeah, we managed to hit 140 combat strength, which I think is absolutely insane. I wonder if anybody else out there has had higher and they can show me that this isn't actually that much. But we'll move now into the planning for the modern age, and I'll explain what the plan is for that. So this is us at the end of the exploration age and completely ready to go into our modern age. And instead of sticking with Songhai, I am choosing to go for King, who I never would have checked for any reason, but one thing I noticed is that they get +1 combat strength for land units for every other civilization you have a trade route with. So since we're only attacking one person, if we can maintain a trade route with 8 other people, that's +8 combat strength, which when looking at all of the other options, this is probably the best option. Prussia is a good shout because you get +9 from their bonus, because theirs is +1 combat strength for military units for every unfriendly or hostile relationship, and you can quite comfortably do that with 9, like everybody on the map, and then just choose one to attack. However, if you're hostile or unfriendly with them, you probably don't have military aid, and like I mentioned in my first 2 ages, that's really important for getting as much combat strength as you can on your units. And also they have a unique infantry unit which gives us +4 combat strength if adjacent to another unit. So if we add that to the +8 bonus, that's an overall +12 bonus. Unfortunately, they do not have a tradition that gives them extra attack, but I think +12 is pretty good, so we're going to select them. One thing I noticed throughout this exploration age that I feel like I should have changed, and maybe I overvalued, was the Shisa necklace over the course of the game. Like I said, I suzerained 14 city-states, which was 1400 influence if we count all this together, but I feel like I should have ultimately chosen from the beginning the Flag of Jiangxi because of our commander promotion levels. We picked a celebration in exploration. It means that every time we get a celebration, which was quite often, we would get an extra commander level or get extra attack damage. So we used the extra attack damage when we needed to, but for the rest of the age we got extra commander levels, and by the end of it we had about 30 plus commander levels, which means from this we were getting 60 influence a turn. It was 130 turns in exploration, so even if we were starting that age, I think we would have started that age with about 46 influence a turn. You're getting a lot more than 1400 over the course of the entire age, and there weren't really many points when we really needed to use an influx of influence at once. Having this gradual increase would have been much nicer overall, so I would say it's worth picking this up, especially if you've had the same aggressive Antiquity as I have and you've got a lot of commander levels at the ready. Pick Flag of Jiangxi and War Club, because you'll just be able to get all the city-states you want, you'll be able to do all of the military aid you want, and you'll obviously still have the combat strength on your infantry. So now that I've rambled as much as I humanly can, I'll move on into the modern age, and instead of really talking through much else, I'll just say that we're going to go for fascism. We're going to try and get all of the combat bonuses that we can from the tech and civic tree, so I'll just jump to the point when we're actually attacking and I'll talk through the numbers there so I don't have to do it twice. So here we are at the final frontier, ready to unveil how much combat strength you can physically achieve in Civilization VII. And while this isn't the maximum amount, because I never got nearly as much military aid as I would have liked, I will say that from pretty much every other bonus you can potentially get in the game, we have pretty much maxed this out. We have done very well to get to this point, and like I mentioned with the gold bangles before, we didn't get to use Isa, which was attacking from a navigable river and getting +5. We're actually getting to do that in this age, which is really cool. So I'll just do the reveal and we'll see what we all think from it. As we can see, we get 166 combat strength from an infantry unit in Modern Age, completely dwarfing the other unit. And while some people throughout this video might have thought, can you not add flanking bonus on top of this? Unfortunately no, because we're actually doing so much damage and we're one-shot and everything. The flanking bonus is only available when you are attacking from the front, and you then attack with other units on the flank or from behind to get bonuses on top of that, which there have been videos and photos online showing how ludicrous those bonuses can get to, but because we're already one-shotting things, that isn't possible here. We are already completely and utterly breaking the game to the point where everything dies in one hit. This is a true one-shot build, and I believe it's the only real intuitive way to do the one-shot build. But enough of my opinions and my ramblings, we'll just go through the numbers and see the last hit out before we close out the video. The Partisan has 65 basic melee strength. They are the special military unit that you get in this age from a military city-state, so you can actually get them with any civilization. And as much as I thought I was going to be getting the +4 from the Gusa, they only have a 60 basic strength and their bonus is only +4, whereas the Partisan are basic strength 65 and their bonus of attacking somebody who has a different ideology gives them a bonus of 5, so that gives them a solid strength of 70 compared to the 64 for the Gusa before we add in other bonuses. After that we've got -2 from attacking from river, which sounds bad, but because we're using Isa, which is our tradition from the Songhai, we get +5 from the navigable river, so that's actually a net total of +3. We get +8 from the trade routes with other civilizations, which we talked about before. We're getting +47 from city-state suzerains, which also isn't as high as I would have liked it to be. We unfortunately only got 2 military city-states in this age, so that could be better. We got 4 rubber resource. There was only 6 rubber on the map, and this is something I quickly want to mention, is if we go down here, we'll notice that one of the rubbers is here, and it is actually improved from what I can tell, but when I traded with Kitu, this didn't come up as an option to trade with, and I don't have access to this. And I also improved a rubber myself when I built this set. I actually forced this settlement so that I could go and grab this, but this doesn't seem to be counted towards my combat strength. If we quickly go into resources and check our empire resources, it only says +4, and we're getting them from these 3 people. So there seemed to be some sort of small bug that meant we couldn't get 168 combat strength, which is what I feel this number should actually be. So I would like to say from this point that number legally should be 168. For some reason the game is not recognising those other 2 rubber resources. Going back to the numbers, we have our first strike from our commander, Isa I've already mentioned, order from the commander, route from the commander. We get our +5 legend militaristic attribute, which is, if we go into our attributes, in the military tree we have our legend unlock for all military leaders. As long as you've got them to a certain level, you will unlock this, +5 combat strength for all units against fortified districts. So that's why I've actively chosen to attack a fortified district adjacent to the navigable river. Then we have +5 against different ideologies, which comes up twice, and despite a lot of other bonuses not stacking, this one seems to stack, I think because it's from 2 completely different sources. So one is the bonus from the partisan themselves, and one is from a social policy that you get further along in the civic tree. This is based on your government that you actually choose. So if you choose the authoritarianism government at the beginning of the age, you will unlock at a later point the tradition of +5 combat strength for all military units when attacking an opponent from a different ideology. And you actually get this all the way over here in militarism. So that's quite far into the tree, which is why it's a turn 88 before we're actually showing this. We also had to get to the end of fascism to unlock Scorched Earth for an extra +3. And in terms of the King Civics, we didn't have to really do anything here, but it was good just to get an attribute point. Coming back to the attack, we have +3 for Industrialization, that's in your science tree, and Industrialization 2 gives you your +3 combat strength for your military, for your infantry units. Then we've got our 2 military aids, so again, like I mentioned, we did not get nearly as much military aid as I would have liked in this age. Despite having so many alliances, like I said, Alexander just doesn't give you military aid. Unfortunately, we didn't get one here. We didn't get one from either of these guys because he decided to start hating me all of a sudden. These 2 fell out with me because of the ideology, so they stopped giving me military aid as well. So again, I feel like this number could have easily been closer to 180 if everything went perfectly. But I still think, despite that, 166 is the highest that I believe is on the internet right now, and I think it's really impressive to have this done. If you think you could do better, or you think you've seen better somewhere else, feel free to let me know. If you want to see even higher numbers and see me try and push this limit to its extent, I would love to make an attempt at this again. If you want to see anything else pushed to its extent, I have some plans to try and do some limit testing for other elements within the game. But apart from that, thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you appreciated seeing how crazy the numbers can really get, and I showed you it along the way so you can even imitate it yourself, and I hope you can show me some bigger numbers. I have been Sean's Plains, this has been Civilization 7, and I'll see you in the next one.